res, testing out the Foster Bio BDNF kits. We've been having problems with our standards. I'm going to run the assay as I normally would to see if I get standards. I am opening up a new kit. This is the kit, and the wells are still sealed. I will be using the standard that was from this kit, in addition to a new standard that Monica Brown has sent us. This kit is expired. I will make note of that, so I don't know how that will affect the assay, but even before the expiration date, this kit was giving us issues with the standards and has given us issues with the standards previously. I will be pipetting off camera, but I do want to show the standards and what they look like. So this is the new standard, and you can see that the little pellet of lyophilized BDNF is at the top. I have indicated green for new standards, and I am also coloring my Eppendorf tubes that I will be diluting for the other standards in green as well. The black is for the old standard, and you can see kind of the bottom there is the lyophilized BDNF standard. I will be pipetting 1 ml of the sample diluent buffer into the stock solution and letting it sit for 10 minutes. To mix the standards thoroughly, we use a vortex machine. And so I have my standards here with 1 ml of the diluent buffer, sample diluent buffer, and I sit these on there just for a bit while I wait for the standards to sit for 10 minutes after I have mixed and added the sample diluent buffer. I will be adding 300 microliters of the sample diluent buffer into my tubes that I have pre-labeled. While I wait for the standards to settle for 10 minutes, I am going to prepare the wash buffer. I have here 1 liter of double distilled water. And of course, the packet here, I am following instructions, all of this powder into the liter. It has been 15 minutes since I last did anything with the standards, so they've been sitting for 15 minutes. You can see that everything is dissolved. I will be mixing them again on the vortex, and I will be pipetting 300 microliters from standard 1. Can't really see, but I am pipette mixing, and I'm putting that into tube number 2. I am then going to vortex tube number 2, pipette out 300 microliters into tube number 3, vortex, and continue this on all the way to tube number 7, and that is my serial dilution. I will be doing the exact same thing with the other standard. I have opened the package and I've selected 2 well strips to test standard 1 and standard 2, and to make this foolproof for me, I'm going to mark on the top of the strips which standards are going into which well, and I will be pipetting 100 microliters of my standards. So starting with standard, the newer standards, the green standards, I have here and I do switch between tips for pipetting into the wells just to make sure I'm getting a true value of my standards. Moving on to standard 2, again 100 microliters. I am being extra cautious to not touch my pipette tip at the bottom of the well. That is something that is stated in the protocol as well. I'm using my finger as a guide to make sure that I'm not interfering with any of the receptors at the bottom of the well. Last, standard 8 is what we call it. I just pipette directly from. This is what we're using. And I have 100 microliters again. Now moving on to the standard from the kit. And I'm always pipetting, mix pipetting about 3 times before I pipette, just to make sure that everything is as mixed as it possibly can be. And then I have a cover that was provided, and I gently line it up so that all of my wells are sealed. That is at 37 degrees Celsius. And it will be in there for 90 minutes. So it's about an hour until the plate will come out for antibody. So I'm preparing the antibody right now. So I have the mouse BDNF antibody, and I will be diluting it with the antibody diluent buffer. I am using 16 wells, and I like to round up a few, so I'm going to be using 18 wells as my rounded number. So I know this is a little gratuitous, but it is all we have at the moment. So I will be pipetting 1,782 microliters of diluent buffer, and I will be pipetting 18 microliters of antibody. And again, I do a quick shake, and because I have shaken it, I do a little centrifuge. Okay, so 18 microliters into my buffer. And then I vortex this as well and let it sit until I'm ready to use it in about an hour. So the plate has been incubating for 90 minutes at 37 degrees Celsius. So now I'm going to aspirate the contents and then add 100 microliters of the antibody to each well. So I have here my mixture. I'm going to vortex it briefly since it's been sitting for an hour, and then 100 microliters into each well. Okay, I'm going to cover the plate and then incubate it for an hour at 37 degrees Celsius. Just like I did with the antibody solution, I will be doing the same thing with the ABC avidin biotin peroxidase complex. I will be preparing it an hour before, and because I'm using the same amount of wells and the same dilution of 100x to 1x, I will be using the same volumes that I did previously. Here's my ABC diluent buffer and then my complex, and as you can see, it's in there. And then again, I will briefly vortex it and wait an hour once the plate is ready. So the plate has just come out of an hour of incubation at 37 degrees Celsius after I had added the antibody. I have made my wash buffer and I pH'd it. The pH is a little above the range, it's at 7.8, but I think that that's fine. So for washing, I remove the plate cover. And because I'm using such small amount of wells, what I do is I take a clean beaker and I pour some of my wash buffer into the beaker. Normally what I do when I'm running a full assay is I'll use a multi-channel pipette, but I would rather save resources and just do this way since I only have 16. So I am going to begin my 3 washes. They are 1 to 2 minutes each, so I will probably end the video here, but just know that that is what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just about finished with my last wash here. I am preparing to pipette the ABC solution into the wells, and I have everything all ready for that. So I'll be piping 100 microliters of ABC. It's my ABC complex ABC solution that I have made an hour before. I'm going to use it. Pipette into each well, and then again I use my cover and I carefully line it up to make sure all my wells are sealed, and then I will be incubating this plate for 30 minutes at 37 degrees Celsius. My plate has just finished its 30-minute incubation, and now I will be washing 5 times. And after, I will show you adding in the color developing reagent. So this is my last wash of 5 before I add in the color developing reagent. So I'm going to aspirate and pat dry. I like to pipette the color reagent on a contrasting background just to see, because usually in my experience the highest concentrated standard will show some color before I end up putting it into the incubator. So hopefully that's what we see here. And again, green is the newer standard that was sent separately from the kit, and black is the older standard that was part of the kit. Okay, I am a little skeptical that I'm not seeing any color change yet, but we will still continue with the assay. So I'm going to cover plate and I will incubate it for 15 minutes and check and see if there's any color change. This is what the plate looks like after 15 minutes of incubation. I will let it sit for another 10 minutes. Here is the plate after 25 minutes of incubation. I'm going to add 100 microliters of the stop solution. Okay, and then to read the plate, we are going to go over to our plate reader. We use the Molecular Devices SpectraMax ID5. All of the settings have been preset. So we're running an ELISA, and here are all the settings. We're reading it at 450 nanometers. There's no cover on top of the plate. And here you can see the values start to populate. This is the OD value that I typically see when I'm running a blank well. We usually dilute our samples in PBS if we're doing dilutions above 1 to 20, and blank PBS looks just like this. There's no real difference between the old standards and the newer standards. Just to orient you again, column 1 is the standards that were sent separately from the kit, and column 2 are the standards that are from the kit. Both standards have been in the 4-degree deli fridge since we got them. Again, there have been no real values that we have seen, even when we use the kit fresh as soon as we get it. So any help troubleshooting would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to watch me walk through this. Hopefully there's something that I did that's pretty stark that we can change.